Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Thuraya. Yes, good morning, everybody. I think I will also abandon my notes. They're a mess anyway, and sort of reflect on some of the issues that have already been raised. I want to, before getting to the questions that Francis Kissling asked that set the tone of this panel, I want to even go one step behind or forward, whatever you want, however you want to perceive it, and ask, why are we talking about culture and religion at this point in history? After all, human experience is one of cultural experience. Take away the culture, and we are left with our animal being. So we have always been entrenched in culture. The very existence of or construction of human society has contributed culture to nature. So human experience and culture are inseparable. And religion, again, religion also is very much a product of this human experience. And we have all been members of this or that religious community. When I was a student in college, which was a long time ago, we didn't talk about our identities in terms of culture, ethnicity, religion. It was not a problematic. People lived their culture, people lived their religion. We fought along different lines when I was a student. You were either a bourgeois or a revolutionary. And these imposed serious indicators on how you presented yourself in your daily life. I mean, I, as a young woman going to college, I would have been terrified to be perceived as a bourgeois. So I had to dress in a certain way. I had to speak with a certain language. And this pretty much formed my identity. But today, we have forgotten about this formation of identity along mega ideologies. And today we are increasingly being put in a contestation which is culturally defined. So I'm defined by many as a Muslim woman. And I always wonder what that means. That's a very problematic conception for me. I am born a Muslim. I'm not a practicing Muslim, but I become very Muslim when I face discrimination, racism, and so forth. So you see, we are, in a way, being superimposed by adopting to these new forms of identity formation, which are based on culture and religion. So the world today is marked by difference along these lines, rather than difference along the mega ideologies that we shared or did not share during the Cold War era. So how did this all come about is a question that I think academics have been dealing with, and I certainly have been dealing with this as well. And Thuraya said that the professor will answer these questions. Well, I have to let you know that I have just submitted my resignation to my academic post. As of the end of this month, I'm free of being a professor.
Oh, good.
So I don't have to, thank you. So I don't have to answer those questions. But I think, but we'll try to explore some of those issues. I think what is happening today in the post-Cold War era is that there are major dislocations in the way power was instituted during the Cold War era. Power not only in the public sphere, but also in the private sphere. And some of the major dislocations took place in the area of gender and generational relationships. So it is no wonder that I think our colleagues from the legal profession will tell us that there is more controversy over family law and inheritance laws than there is about liberalization of the markets. So this in itself is curious. So states have been easily adapting to the new world order in terms of liberalizing their economies, giving up much of their sovereign rights to multinational corporations, to financial institutions such as IMF, the World Bank, and so forth. But they have been particularly resistant in the areas of private relationships, where women become the main target of defining what those relationships will be. So where do values come from? I think the values come precisely from competing struggles to shape human existence. Therefore, since we are not all located in the same place in our social existence, the kinds of values and symbols we produce in the process will naturally differ. And some of these we share, and some of these are competing meanings. And the shared values are the ones that, in a way, help the continuity of social existence or social order. But the competing meanings are the potential for change. These are the values that galvanize change towards adopting different values within a society's culture. Continuity represents, in terms of my understanding, the culture of domination, and competing meanings represent the culture of protest. And how we protest, it differs depending upon the particular context we happen to be in. Our everyday lives is a constant mode of protest, not in the form of a revolution, but we're constantly negotiating our terms of existence within unequal power relations, whether it is between parents and children, or women and men, or citizens and the state. And today, of course, being in a transnational world, we have an additional layer of our struggle at the transnational level, where I think the states are forging their struggle back in New York now at the General Assembly Summit right now. And if you listen to what is being said there, it is very indicative of the kinds of problems we're facing in our own homes. There is a link between the values that are being promoted there and the values that are reproduced at home. So negotiation of values always result in adjustments in what we call culture. And most often, because these are not major ruptures in the continuation of the social order, we tend to be somewhat unaware of the serious changes that are actually taking place. But then there are more serious collective struggles where serious ruptures and changes in cultural values occur. Let me just refer to the concept of citizenship. Citizenship is the major building block of the nation-state system that prevailed in pretty much of the 20th century. It is being shaken today. The whole notion of citizenship is being reconfigured. But citizenship in the nation-state system was the media through which we negotiated our rights. As members of a sovereign nation-state, as a citizen, of a sovereign national state, we had certain rights that non-members did not have. And this value was not rooted in the history of human existence. It's a fairly alien concept to all cultures. But today we don't even think about this. Citizenship is a common value to almost all cultures, although what it means, how it's applied in different cultural settings is very different. But nonetheless, we all have citizenship. Some of us don't, and that's where there are ambiguities in the way power relations are structured at any point in history. But today, as I said, this common value of the nation-state model of the 20th century is already changing. Immigration and the rise of new modes of seeking rights, and now I'm referring to the human rights system, which of course started in 1948 with the adoption of the Declaration and all the conventions that followed. But the human rights system pretty much was in a stalemate during the Cold War system, where sovereign state system suppressed the rights struggles pretty much. It was the state who was supposed to give the rights, to protect the rights of its citizens. And it was, of course, the state delegated the male heads of households to protect the family members. But we know today that neither the patriarch nor the state did their job. As a matter of fact, they were the major violators of rights. So today, in the post-Cold War era, these tensions and competing values within the home, within patriarchal homes, or within patriarchal states, are finding new expression as transnational movements. And I think the women's movement has been one of the most effective and inclusive of the transnational movements. It has had contradictory trajectories. There have been ups and downs, and I think many of these will be discussed. And one of the major challenges that it is facing today is the issue of culture, because this is the only place where states can reestablish or hold on to their powers long gone in other spheres. So the culture talk has really become the language of those who hold power. But it's easy to say this, but in actual life, because we are all categorized into neat little cultures and religious orientations, we become part of the language of the oppressor. Sometimes we hold on to this language ourselves. So the women's movement, on the one hand, by recognizing their shared experience in oppression, were able to come together, linking local resistances with global movements, and as a result have achieved considerable transformation of the sort of Western and male-centered human rights language. I don't want to get into details of that whole regime. I think you're all very familiar. One of the, of course, turning points in this was the 1993 Vienna Conference, although we have the CEDAW Convention, which precedes it, but CEDAW still had a lot of the male yardsticks that feminists were fighting against. But in the 1993 Vienna Conference, by the acknowledgement of violence against women as a form of human rights violation, whole new arena opened for the women's struggle. Again, this was a very contradictory one. And as you all know, the Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women was adopted immediately after the Vienna Conference. And in 1994, Human Rights Commission established the post of the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women, which I had the privilege of holding from 2003 to 2009.